A box I'd never seen before. Wooden, dusty, and tied shut with red ribbon, faded and old. On top of it, in Grandpa's handwriting, was a simple note: "Play this together, on Christmas Eve." Inside was an old tape recorder, heavy, rusted at the corners. Still had Grandpa's initials carved into the bottom, Tim. I carried it downstairs. We didn't say much, just placed it by the tree. The whole week it sat there like some secret waiting to be opened. Then Christmas Eve came. We turned off the TV, the fire burned low. Snow whispered against the windows. And we pressed play. The sound crackled at first. Then, there it was, Grandpa's voice. "If you're hearing this," he said, "then I'm no longer there with you. At least not in the usual way. But don't worry, I didn't leave without telling you one last story." I looked at my parents. Mom had already started tearing up. Dad just nodded, eyes locked on the recorder. Grandpa continued. "This story takes place a long time ago. December 1954, I was 10. Our town in Ohio had just been hit by the worst snowstorm I can remember. The streets were buried. The power lines had snapped. It was the kind of winter that made even the bravest kids cry. We had no gifts that year. No tree, just cold. Last Christmas was different. The lights were still hung on the porch. The scent of cinnamon still drifted through the house, and the fireplace still crackled softly like it always did. But something was missing. Grandpa. He'd passed away that spring quietly, peacefully. No big ceremony, just the way he would have wanted. But now, as December rolled in and the snow covered our small town in a soft white blanket, his absence felt louder than ever. We all missed him in our own way. Mom would set an extra plate out at dinner, then pretend she forgot. Dad kept sitting in Grandpa's old recliner and staring at the empty fireplace. And I just kept hearing his voice. Not in a spooky way, just little memories, his stories. The way he used to say, "Christmas isn't about what you get, it's about what you give, and sometimes what you remember." A week before Christmas Eve, I went up to the attic looking for the old string lights. That's when I found it. I remember sitting on the steps of our porch, bundled in my brother's old coat, staring out into the frozen world, thinking, "So this is Christmas?" And I remember thinking it was the worst one yet. He chuckled a little on the tape. But that's not how it turned out. He told us about his neighbor, Mrs. Evelyn. She was in her 80s back then, lost her husband in World War I and her son in the Second. She lived alone, in a creaky blue house with chipped paint and a porch swing that never stopped swaying in the wind. That Christmas Eve, Grandpa said, my mother packed a small bag with what we had. Half a loaf of bread, a few cookies, and a scarf she'd knit 2 winters ago. She looked at me and said, "Take this to Evelyn. And wear gloves." That was her way of saying she loved me. So I did. I walked through the snow, feet soaked and cheeks burning. Every step felt like a mile. But I made it. Knocked on Evelyn's door with numb hands. And when she opened it, oh, the look on her face. She didn't say anything at first. Just stared. Then she smiled. The kind of smile that makes you feel warm, even when it's 10 degrees outside. She let me in. We sat at her old kitchen table lit by a single candle. She poured me the last of her tea, and I gave her the bread and cookies. And for the next hour she told me stories. About her husband, her son, about the Christmases they'd shared before the world turned cold. "And you know what?" he said on the tape. "That was the best Christmas I ever had. I didn't get a toy. I didn't get candy. But I gave something. I listened. And she gave me her stories." There was a pause on the tape. Just the soft sound of the fire in the background. Then Grandpa's voice returned, quieter this time. "Stories are how we live on. I've told you many. Some funny, some foolish. But this one I wanted to save for last. Because this isn't just a story about a little boy and an old woman. It's about love. Quiet love. The kind that shows up in snowstorms with nothing but bread and hope. If you're hearing this, then I'm smiling from somewhere up high. Maybe sitting with Evelyn again, listening to her talk. Maybe watching you all from the porch swing of heaven." He chuckled again. "Don't cry too much, all right? I've had a good run. And remember, Christmas isn't about what's under the tree. It's about who's around it, even if some of us are only there in spirit." The tape ended. Silence filled the room, but it didn't feel empty. Mom wiped her eyes. Dad leaned back in Grandpa's old recliner and closed his eyes. Maybe picturing that snowy street in 1954. And me? I just sat there smiling. because I could still hear his voice, still feel that warmth, not from the fire, but from the story. Grandpa hadn't left us after all. He just became another whisper in the warmth of Christmas.